All right, welcome to another episode, a special episode of Monte and the Pharaoh, along with associate producer of The Wrestler and 350 Days, Mr. Evan Ginsberg, also host of the Evan Ginsberg Show here on Village Connection Radio.
Thanks for having me back.
And none other than Hall of Famer, WWE, NWA, AWA, all-time super wrestler, and our fan favorite, Greg the Hammer Valentine. Yeah. We are honored. Thank you, sir, for taking this time with us. 350 days. Can you tell us a little bit about the involvement in 350 Days and what you thought about the film?
Well, the making of this movie's gone on for quite a while, so it's good stuff. And there was a lot of stuff. And it was a long movie and they cut it down, but you got the sweetness, something always going to end up on the cutting floor, but this is the sweetest cuts of all. The guys are phenomenal, a lot of big names. Just talking about 350 days on the road, not going home, driving long trips, getting in car wrecks when it rains too hard. I mean, talking about Philadelphia Spectrum, getting in the car and you got to be in Portland, Maine the next day. And I did that, slept all day when I got to Portland, just driving straight through after wrestling some stiff wrestler like S.D. Jones or something.
That's a delivery.
So you weren't stiff, huh?
Huh?
SD was stiff?
Yeah, not really. I'd wake him up. I'd hit him real hard so he'd hit me back. I was just fight me, damn it. But I enjoyed it, but it's a hard way to go sometimes. You get tired. And so nothing against SD, but I had the worst part is driving. And then you got to drive all night. Who booked this, first of all, with no airplane ticket? But you got to Portland, Maine, it was sold out. The next night you were in Bangor, so that was an easier trip, So those are the old days, and that's what 350 Days is about. Waking up at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, have to drink some coffee and go wrestle. It was a crazy schedule, and even when we were flying all over the place. You ever tried to go to sleep? You're all wound up for this big wrestling match in Chicago, and then it's over, and you try to go back to the hotel and go to sleep, and you're all like, you can't go to sleep. Give me a break. And they got a flight for you at 7 in the morning to wherever, LA probably or something. So it was just crazy. Never got any sleep. I used to fly in, say, California, go get a rent-a-car, go straight to the gym. I just airplane sleep is all, 3 or 4 hours, and then work out, then go to the Marriott or wherever we stayed. Usually it was a nice hotel. That was a good plus, but you get 2 or 3 hours of sleep there and then go and wrestle. I mean, it's crazy. It's nuts.
It is crazy.
I'd stay up all night again.
What was the longest stretch you had without a break that you can recall?
Well, I was mad. I don't, maybe I shouldn't even say that, but I was having trouble at home. So I just told George Scott, the booker, I said, just book me and don't give me any days off. And he booked me like 60 days straight.
Wow.
But then when I got back, my wife treated me nicer.
There you go. So there's a lesson learned.
Sometimes you
Absence
got to
makes the
get
heart.
out. Yeah.
There you go.
First of all, if you're going to be a wrestler and be successful at it, you have to be married to pro wrestling. Maybe this is for other jobs too, like being a rock and roll guy or whatever. You got to be married to that first.
Right.
And the woman's got to realize that.
Right. Was that difficult in your situation, or was that something that after that, was it 60 days the one time where you had to look, I'm a wrestler, this is what I do for a living, or
No, the other time I just threw her out.
There you go. Wow.
There I go crying.
That's
Anyway.
That's back before O.J. Simpson did all that shit.
Jeez, oh my God.
That's a message for Mrs. Monty.
Ay,
Be
ay, ay.
careful.
The laws changed, but I never beat my women up. I just told them to leave.
Right.
Get out.
Right. Right.
But I took care of them after they left. But I mean, sometimes you just, you're married to the business first.
Right.
And thankfully, the woman I have now we've been together a long time. And it's great. So it takes a while to find out that. I got a happy medium now, but I don't work all the time now.
Right. I mean, to be fair.
But I like to work on the weekends.
Yeah.
And get away. And she likes to have her space.
Right.
And I just love the road. I can't get it out of my system.
I always found it amazing with all the traveling too. I remember when the first that Sports Illustrated came out, when wrestling really had that boom, and I can remember a pretty solid paragraph about how strong you were and how much you used to bench press as being probably one of the strongest wrestlers as far as bench pressing going. In your heyday, what's the most you used to bench?
Oh, I didn't do that much. I never made it to 500. I did maybe 440 or something.
Oh, is that all?
Well, that's not all.
Oh my God,
Jeez.
440. You need like 5 of me, with the 6th one helping. You know what I mean?
Jim Neidhart, I used to watch him. He didn't even warm up, and he'd come down, and he'd work out with me, and he'd come down, and he'd have like 320 on the bar already. Or what was it? 345s on each side. So what would that be?
Right.
320, right? He'd do like 10 reps.
Wow.
And he's cold.
Wow.
If I did that, I'd break every bone in my body.
That's crazy.
Oh my God, I can't warm up.
Hey, Dennis, you might not have wanted to mess with Neidhart.
Now
that you know that one.
And another guy who could do that was Dino Bravo.
Oh, okay.
He could just sit down there and not even warm up and do it. That's,
Speaking of Dino Bravo, was there any legitimate heat between you and Dino? I know in WrestleMania 3, I think that's when they broke up the Dream Team.
Right.
From what I've read, you were unhappy with that breakup, and you did not want to participate with Dino. Is that true?
Yeah, but it wasn't nothing against Dino. I tried it for a while, but I just didn't have the timing with him. And then every morning, when you're a tag team like that, you're like married to you don't sleep in the same room, but you're married to your partner. And every morning he was beat his fist and he just flipped out every morning, couldn't find it. I says, calm down, dear. But the worst part, I could put up with that, but the worst part was the timing wasn't there in the ring. And it's hard to control a tag match. And he wouldn't listen to me, but I don't know, there wasn't that.
It just didn't jive. Yeah.
And then they came up with a stupid angle where they were going to steal the bulldog, and we were going to walk out with like a dog, one of those things that stick out, a dog collar, and that's bullshit.
You guys were gonna take Matilda.
Yeah, I mean, I guess.
How could you?
Would you guys buy that?
No.
To me, it was cartoon.
That would have been horrible.
It was cartoon. I said, "Is that all you got?"
Yeah. Did you resign over that, by the way? Can I ask that? Was that,
Well,
was that like the final straw for you?
Well, they had us. That was just about, but I was kind of going to go along with it, I guess.
Okay.
You got to pay the bills, and they weren't hurting me.
Right.
But so then they came. What happened? They we went to Madison Square Garden, new Dream Team, and we're wrestling the Killer Bees, and they want us to put the Killer Bees over. I said, that's it.
Yeah,
I've had it.
Yeah.
I went out and put them over, and I did something with a cute finish where I figured forward one of them and standing like this, and the other guy jumped out the top rope and rolled me up. So it was a cute finish.
Wow.
Nonsense.
But I got upset. I says, I'm leaving, and I'm quitting, and I'm not telling anybody. I had like 10 more shows to do. And I got on the airplane and flew home, and I was by myself on the airplane. My God, there was nobody on it. And who gets up in first class and goes to the bathroom is Hogan. So I said, he's like Vince's right-hand guy back there. Maybe, I don't know. But I'd hide. Don't see me.
Hey, brother.
Well, he must. So I mean, we were friends and we were close, but I didn't want him to see me he knows I'm supposed to be on the road, right? So I don't know if he saw me or not, but I kept hiding, and he never came back. So I get home, and I'm home for about 4 or 5 hours, and I get a phone call, and it's Vince McMahon, And what are you doing? I mean, it got out, so I figured it came from Hogan. And I talked to him and I hung up on him, I swear.
Really?
And then he called back and I talked to him a total of 5 hours. And he talked me into coming back.
Really? Wow. Okay.
And I had a deal to go to WCW then. To be one of the four horsemen.
Wow.
Barry Windham was turning babyface, so it was a hot. And J.J. Dillon, it was his idea, I guess. And Jim Ross called me, and so they were trying to pull me. And I met a lot then, you know, so to go in there as being one of the four horsemen would have been great for my career.
Oh my God.
And I let Vince screw that up for me.
Wow.
Well, Evan, there's another reason to throw stuff at Vince's photo at home.
So, you know,
There you go.
you're speaking about Vince. You worked in the AWA. You worked in...
No, I never wrestled AWA.
You never wrestled AWA? Okay, so you worked under Crockett, McMahon, and Bischoff within certain areas. What's the difference between the three?
Well, I love, you know, I mean, Vince and me, we're still friends, and I understand the way he thinks. And he's the boss. I had a good run up here, so whatever. So, and always he put me in the Hall of Fame. So I've had a good run with him.
Right.
And Jim Crockett, I had a good run with Jim Crockett. Eric Bischoff, I never jived with Eric Bischoff. He just hung near Hogan, and he didn't know what the fuck he was doing.
Right, right.
He looked good. He got into the owners of Time Warner and whatever, and talked him into letting him be the boss. And I don't think he knew how to be the boss.
Right.
That's what's wrong with WCW, and that's why they lost the whole company. They lost everything. It's because of egos and wrestlers running it. Vince McMahon, at least, was not a wrestler. He ran the company. Pat Patterson was by his side, and they did it, and they knew what they were doing a year ahead of time. Yeah. And sometimes 2 years ahead of time. WCW didn't know what they were doing for next Nitro.
Wow.
So they lost everything, and they sold out for $3 million to Vince, and he bought everything.
So being the professional that you are, when you're in that WCW run, are you just like, what am I doing here? Or is it just like, give me a paycheck?
They gave me a contract, and I was finished in WWF for a while. I knew I had to get out because of the earthquake match. So I had to get out, and it was time to get out, and had nothing. Look how long I'd been there, 79, 94, whatever. So, and was treated great and made good money. And so my loyalty would be with here, but Jim Crockett lost everything and sold out. And then WCW took over Jim Crockett, Charlotte, and they blew it because of Eric Bischoff, Bill Watts, wrestlers. Dusty Rhodes, God rest his soul, but he screwed it up too. You can't have a wrestler that's still wrestling running the friggin' company.
Right. And you being on the inside as a wrestler, you must have been able to tell that WCW was working towards the quick toilet flush ultimately.
Well, the NWO thing was good, right?
Oh,
so
great.
when I left in '92, Hogan made that move, and then the NWO thing. So WCW was beating WWF in the ratings, and the NWO thing, and Hogan turning heel with the NWO. That fucking thing got over, and I remember back then, you know, we wrestled mainly in the South, but you go to places like Chattanooga, Tennessee, and it's sold out, and everybody's wearing NW. I mean, the whole South, all the college kids got into it.
Right.
They got into this
Yep.
and
Yep.
they, you know, it was the timing was right. WCW was going to knock him out of the box.
And then Vince came up with his own counter move, which was the, you know, Stone Cold Steve Austin and The Rock and Triple H.
Well, then something happened. Vince started selling out again.
Right.
And then Success, I think maybe Hogan left or something. Something got messed up in the mix, and they lost. And then Time Warner didn't want wrestling anymore.
Right.
And they fucking...
Vince Russo was hired by WCW, and then him and Hogan had that fallout at Bash of the Beach.
Okay.
And within a year, WCW was in the shit.
Yeah. See, I didn't
So that's
know what
basically-
happened. I mean, I knew they were on top, and I
Yeah.
left, and I said, "What the hell happened?" They had it going.
Yep.
Oh, I know what it was. So the NWO had 4 guys, right? Then that was great. Then they had 5. Then they had 6, and they had 8, 9, 10. Then they had the NWO Spanish version.
I remember when Evan was in it.
They killed the goose that laid the golden egg.
Yeah, absolutely.
They should have
worked
kept
out.
it 4 or 5.
Yeah.
You know, NWO
They
guys,
destroyed it.
they destroyed.
They did.
Because those guys were cool,
Yeah,
but
great.
the other guys they brought in were not that cool.
Hey, Greg, another reason why I think that WCW ultimately lost the war, and I want to tie this question in, was just to me because Vince, it's in his blood. It's in the family business. Bischoff was not in the family business. He didn't know nothing about wrestling. Vince being the son of a famous promoter, I wanted to ask you, what was it like being the son of a famous wrestler? Because your father was fantastic. For those of you who are not familiar with Johnny Valentine, multiple-time United States champion, amongst other things. You got some liquid?
I need some water. I'm sorry.
It's all right.
I'll drink off anybody. I'll just pour it in my mouth.
There we go.
Um,
Got any vodka?
what was the no vodka? What was the question?
I wanted to know what it was like being the son of a famous, wrestler.
It was hard, but it
Was
was.
it?
But it was.
Now, in the beginning, you were actually reluctant to take your father's name. So you went with the Fargo name, I believe?
Yeah, but
Okay.
the promoters wanted me to be Johnny Valentine Jr., and I'm not
Okay.
Johnny Valentine Jr. I'm Greg Valentine. And my dad didn't want to. My dad didn't. Back then, if you were over 40 years old, the fans tried to say you're washed up and you can't be a wrestler. And my dad was in better shape in his entire life when he was in his 40s. And so I wasn't ready to carry that name for a while. So I let him have his space, and I was just glad to be in the business. And I hooked up with Fargo after I got out of the dungeon. And then I met him in Detroit, and Fargo taught me a lot. I was a Fargo brother for 2 or 3 years off and on. Great psychologist in the ring. He wasn't my dad's style. He was more like Buddy Rogers. He did the strut.
Okay.
He did high spots.
Okay.
He didn't do that. Later on, I adapted what my dad did. But I mixed that with Don Fargo's style and Johnny Valentine's style and came up with my own style.
Right. You mentioned Stu Hart. What was it like being trained in the dungeon? And also afterwards, I think you got some training from the Sheik also?
Yeah, all that was good. But I really didn't learn that much working out in the gym or working in Stu's basement. He just tortured me a little bit, but that was all good.
Okay.
But that's
Describe tortured.
Well, he put me in a real hard headlock or something, or he put me, front face lock, that was it. He'd show me, don't do it like this, and he cracked my neck. What the fuck?
Don't do it like this.
But he was easy on me because I talked to some other guys. He's a good friend of my dad's, so.
Okay.
But he showed me that wrestling is for real if you put a hold on for real.
Right.
And the real front face lock, and then there's a working front face lock. But it's one of the best holds in the world, and it's a good wrestling hold too, but it's a real hold, the front face lock. But I went to Sheik, and Sheik didn't do anything. I stayed with the Sheik. He had a big house, big ranch, and he always, every time I saw him after that, you used to live with me. I lived there for about 4 months.
It's like 4 months, dude.
Yeah, and he had his son, his retarded son. No, he wasn't. I'm sorry. Eddie. No, I'm not. I'm sorry. I said
Oh,
that.
my God.
I got to be.
You meant lopsided. Go on.
I'm sorry.
Was his son named Dan?
No, Eddie, I think. No, it wasn't Eddie. But he's a promoter now, but we stayed down in the basement together, but finally the Sheik says, you got to leave.
How did you wind up with the Sheik from going from Stu Hart to the Sheik? Who recommended you to
My
go to
dad, because
Your
he's
dad.
good friends with
There you
both
go.
of them.
Greg,
And, but I wrestled from, he had a ring in the back by the swimming pool, but nobody came over to work out with me. So he just put me in a ring and let me wrestle. And I wrestled Bobo Brazil. I wrestled all these top guys, but I learned from them. You know, I just follow them. They do this, and that's how I learned how to work in front of a crowd, not in front of.
You were actually fortunate
small
enough to be
gyms
given
and-
programs against some of your father's rivals.
Yeah,
Is that true?
eventually,
Like
yeah.
Bobo Brazil was
Yeah,
one.
Bobo
Was it
Brazil.
Don Leo Jonathan? Did you do
No,
any
I
work
didn't
with
ever
him?
wrestle him because he
Okay.
was over in
Oh, he was that.
Canada.
Okay.
But there was like Bearcat Wright. I wrestled against him. And that was a big foe of my dad's.
How about Kowalski?
You know, Killer Kowalski was over in, I'm not sure, maybe still in WWF.
Right.
I haven't
Probably.
got there yet.
Probably.
Different, you know, using my dad's age and bracket.
Greg, if I can ask you, and I know it's difficult probably to talk about, but I wanted to ask you about the plane crash that your father was in and how it affected you, and ironically, how you were asked to actually replace your dad in Mid-Atlantic. Can you tell us a little bit about those memories if you can?
Well, I remember Dick Murdoch and Bill Watts. I was in Oklahoma, and they said, your dad's had a bad plane crash. And first thing oh my God, he's died. But then they said, you know, he survived it, but he's hurt.
Is it broken back?
Yeah, broke his back five or six different places.
Okay.
I went to see him, and it was bad. And Jimmy Crockett was there every day. You know, he was the guy that took Mid-Atlantic and really made it big. And he goes, I'm passing the torch to him. I'm finished. And he said that right in front of me. And I was like,
wow.
I wanted to cry.
Yeah.
I probably did cry later
Yeah.
on. But I didn't go right there. I didn't want them to bring me up there right away.
How old was your dad when the plane crash happened?
47.
40s.
You know, Greg, I want to jump into your battle for the U.S. title with Ric Flair. Can you give us some memories about that?
Well, let me finish how I first came into Carolina. I was
Sure.
still in Florida with Dusty Rhodes.
Sure.
And I liked Dusty personally. I liked him. George Scott kept calling. I liked Florida because there was a lot of beaches and a lot of pretty girls. And
Okay.
I was making $1,000 a week. And
And we
I
love
didn't-
Florida Championship Wrestling. We used
Yeah.
to watch it.
Oh,
We
yeah.
loved it.
I mean,
Great.
and short
Florida solely.
trips, Miami. Give me.
Sure.
I just, you know, I
Did you have
was
Morocco
actually,
with you? Was
I-
Morocco with you at that time?
Yeah, so-
Hey, oh, forget
yeah,
it. He's
yeah.
never leaving.
Oh my God.
Okay.
Yeah, and George Scott kept calling, and so I'm going to play with it. I says, I can't turn this opportunity down. I don't really want to go to Charlotte because nothing but hicks there. I'm thinking, no offense.
You can hear Ric Flair now.
Bunch of hillbillies up there. Charlotte, I've been in LA and Florida, I got to go. But the money, you know, so they were tempting me with that and the big break. So Dusty says, come on, you're going to eventually have to go there. Let's send him a tape. So he set up all these 2x4s or something like that I could break. And I drop an elbow on, and then I drop two, you know, I sent that tape up there. My arm was black and blue after that, but they sent it up there and they played it, kept playing it on Carolina TV in Mid-Atlantic. And then I finally went in there for one shot and then he says, you're not coming in yet, we're bringing you in for one shot. So I came in there and wrestled a household name there, Johnny Weaver. And they had me jump off the top rope, which I wasn't used to doing this, like Randy Savage, and drop the elbow across his neck. I got him, but I think I friggin' almost killed him.
Didn't you
And
retire him? He
yeah.
retired. Yeah.
So he retired because of that. And then
Jeez.
I didn't come back for 2 or 3 months. And when I came back, they were pissed at me. And then I tagged up with Flair, and the rest is history. You know, they really set me up perfect to come in there. And my dad was, you know, I mean, I'm not going to say I ever filled his shoes because he had a different style.
Mhm.
But, you know, they say I'm a chip off the old block. So.
It's the highest compliment you can give.
It's a huge compliment.
Yep.
And he watched me wrestle all the time. After he was crippled, especially when I came to New York, and if I did something wrong, he'd say, you're flopping around too much. Go to the gym, quit lifting weights, go to the gym and box. boxing gym. So I did that.
Right.
Learned how to punch for real.
Yep.
But to be a fighter, he said, you got to look like a fighter. So that's where he taught me. He didn't do hands-on, but he goes, that's better. That's better. You're doing better now.
I'll tell you one thing that I will remember, and I don't know who was behind, whoever would push you as you would go from territory to territory, you always knew when he was coming.
Yeah, sure.
Someone was pushing you really well, even back in those days. They always would build up when you were coming. And I remember I was like 11 years old, and I heard these stories from my other 11-year-old buddy. Wait till you see this guy. He breaks legs.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what are you talking about? So I wanted to ask you, how did you come up with the figure four as your finisher? And how did you get your nickname, The Hammer?
Did you ever hear of this group called the Mountain Goats?
The Mountain Goats. Bart, help me out here.
You
You're
can
like
Google it, but they did a song for me.
okay.
And they're kind of like comedians too, but they're from Bakersfield,
Oh,
California.
Dennis might know them then. The Mountain Goats.
The Mountain Goats.
Okay.
And they did a song about me called Break a Leg. And they talked about me breaking legs all the time. And they were fans. So they made a song of break, and the people are laughing. It's a corny song, but someone sent it to me. I think it should be in the top 10.
So how did the Hammer nickname come about? Where'd you pick that up? Because that's beautiful. That fits you
Well,
like a glove.
when I first came here with figure 4 in '79, it was just Greg Valentine.
Okay.
And I went back to NWA and I started draping the guy over the ropes, and I'd do that old thing that Johnny Valentine would do is, hit the big punch across the chest. And it was a good punch. And that's really what started it, because Tony Schiavone was and Bob Caudle were the announcers, and they started saying, here comes the Hammer. So then next time I came back to WWF, it stuck. And Vince liked it. He liked nicknames.
So Vince is like, you're the Hammer.
Yeah.
So speaking of WWF, the Pharaoh and myself, we bleed WWF.
Yes,
right?
we do.
We grew up here.
Yes,
and
we did.
Of course, we were big fans of yours. Can you tell us a little bit your experiences with Bob Backlund as champion on your first run around WWF?
What are we talking? 79?
Yep. Okay.
Yeah, so I'm going in there doing a lot of TV and stuff, and they're getting me ready to wrestle Backlund. But I really wasn't I know I was figure four people, and they were carrying him out on a stretcher. And then I found out I was going to be in the Garden as my first match in New York. And right to the top against Bob Backlund. So it was a little intimidating, but I was, with this figure four, I was made already. So I'm thinking, I'm kind of worried about what the finish is, what the outcome's going to be. I'd done nothing but long matches in Mid-Atlantic, and I was sick and tired of doing hour Broadways and long matches. I go, wow, I'm going to go to New York, and they have nothing but short matches there.
So you were surprised when they asked you to do this hour thing?
I went, oh
come
no.
on. Oh, come on.
I
Thanks,
want
senior.
to friggin' break.
Right.
And Bob Backlund, I watched him work. I said, that's going to be hard to do.
Yeah, he was great.
Wrestle him for an hour.
Sure. Did
But
you have a lot of talking with him before?
No, I didn't talk
Really?
to him.
Oh, wow. That's
We're going to go
unbelievable.
1 hour Broadway in the Garden.
Incredible.
My first time there. But here's what happened. I worked with him, and I didn't try to punch him, and we just wrestled. And he was in such good shape that most of his matches, he never blew up ever, and he wouldn't sell for the guy. And
He wouldn't sell.
so the people didn't really get behind him, and he just beat him. And the guys didn't know how to work with him. Well, me going an hour Broadway, after 20 minutes, he finally got tired.
Wow.
So now I'm going to hold him down. I say, Bob, just stay down and sell this. And he respected me, and we liked each other. And I respected him as a shooter and a double tough son of a bitch that could have got mad at me and tore my leg off. But we're out there doing business. And he respected me that, he knew I was a little bit tough, but not a wrestling tough like him. So we learned how to work together. I love Bob Backlund after that match, then we always had good matches, and I could lay in some chops on him. But with him, it wasn't about that. It was wrestling back and forth, And I really learned how to wrestle from him. I learned some amateur stuff.
So,
So I love the matches I have with
They
him.
were great.
So
Love them.
that's great to hear because we loved your matches with him.
Absolutely.
But a lot of the former wrestlers speak about Backlund as almost bankrupting the WWF back then because he wasn't a draw.
Is there any legitimacy to that, Greg? That Backlund was a poor draw? Because Mike and I talk about it, and we don't recall that.
We used to go to the Garden regularly. We don't recall.
Well,
Was Backlund
when
bad
I
for
wrestled
business
him,
after a
we
while?
drew.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
always true.
They should have just kept me for 3 years going against that. Just keep going.
Probably would have been a good idea.
Don't bring anybody else in.
But what would have been so wrong by putting the belt on you? Let you guys exchange it a couple of times.
Well, they held it up.
Vince.
They held it up the second time,
Yeah.
but I don't know what stopped it. I was in line to get it, and I should have got it, and then I could have wrestled everywhere, and then Vince gave it back to Backlund.
How about October 19th, 1981? Where you actually are smart enough to hop up first and the referee gives you the belt. And you walk out of Madison Square Garden as champion. I'm still angry that they took it away from you.
It was set up like that, double pin,
Rats.
and we both had our shoulders down, but they wanted to hold belt. They wanted to hold the belt back up. Excuse me. They wanted to hold the belt up.
Right.
And Ernie Roth, my manager, the Grand Wizard, kept saying, "You might get the belt. You might get the belt." So for about a month, I couldn't sleep. Right?
Yeah.
And, oh, I want that belt.
Yeah. I wanted you to have that
Didn't
belt.
you actually defend the belt one time? I thought in the Spectrum they
Did
actually
you?
had you
After
defend
you
the title.
walked out that night with the belt? You told us you
Not
got
the
some
world
pictures
belt.
taken with it.
But I got pictures taken with it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
So let me ask you this: you worked with many champions. Which champion drew the most money for you?
I drew money for myself when I was a champion.
Right.
Yeah. Put the belt on me, I'll draw your money.
Compare Hogan's
I'm
drawing power
just going to bring this up.
Here you go.
You can talk about Hulk Hogan all you want. I'd go in there and wrestle him, and I wouldn't hardly have to do anything for 10, 15 minutes, whatever. He'd do 15 minutes. I didn't have to do nothing because he was so over. But he knew how to sell me, too.
Right.
And he was much bigger than me.
Right.
And I had the guy was so over, and he could beat you and it still didn't hurt you. And he used to tell me, this wasn't part of the finish, he'd say, "Hammer, put the figure 4 on me after I beat you."
Nice.
And so I got my heat back.
Yeah.
That's all.
Right. How is Hulk Hogan as a person to you?
I love the guy.
I love this. This is great. I love hearing good things about Hulk Hogan because I love Hulk Hogan.
Yeah, I do too. He was always
Brother.
genuine to me. He loved my dad. He used to
Awesome.
watch my dad in Florida.
Awesome.
And he's still right up to this day. We still text once in a while, emails, and Julie. He loves my wife, Julie. And,
How would you measure his importance and contributions to this business if you could? Where would you put him? I mean, if you had to.
out of
It's
all
not
the
an
guys,
easy question.
I'm still going to, I love The Rock and I like all John Cena, all these other guys.
Sure,
But
sure.
Hogan's number one banana.
I agree.
Wow.
I agree.
Listen, I want to get back to the Grand Wizard and some of those managers back yesteryear, Albano, Freddie Blassie.
Oh,
How was your relationship with the Grand Wizard? And do you have
Great.
any good stories to tell about Ernie?
loved him.
Great. Oh, he always worried so much. And he would call me up all the time when he lived in Fort Lauderdale. And he'd tell me, he was a worry wart, but what a great guy,
Manager of champions.
I actually when Vincent moved to Florida, I actually took Julie and we went down to see him at his place, Fort Lauderdale. So he was a personal friend. He was like a real manager. He wasn't just someone they stuck with.
Right.
Wow.
Right.
Incredible.
What was if you have to pick one, what is your favorite match that you were involved in your career? If you have a favorite match, any possible way you might have one, or are there just too many?
There's too many favorites.
Okay. What do you feel was your most important match? The one that you're going to be most remembered for? Because Bart and I just saw an awesome dog collar match today.
I was going to say it.
Yeah.
I mean, all the stuff I did with Tito and Hogan and
Roddy.
British Bulldogs up here,
Right.
the people eventually saw that up here. And yeah, that's got to be the most cherished one. I know we were trying to set an example, and we did a good job of that. And I remember being WWE like 10 years later, and so people were seeing me all the time. Oh, we just saw that match, a dog collar match. It was before DVDs were out, but they'd come out with a VHS, and that was on some thing from Great Matches or something.
Did you and Roddy discuss anything about the match beforehand?
Oh, I'd never been in any kind of match like that before. I hadn't even been in I've been in a Chief J Strongbow strap match.
Okay.
It's basically kind of like that psychology.
Broke his leg too.
Yes. God bless him. He was a great guy. Oh my God, it was like a night off.
Really? Okay.
All he did was shake, and I'd hit him. He'd shake some more, and I'd hit him some more.
The only Italian Indian
and then
I
he'd
know.
attack.
Yeah, the Italian Indian.
He'd attack and dance and give me some chops, and I'd take a bump and
the
I'd
fans
scoot
loved
up.
him too. He got a huge pop.
It was,
J.
but Pat Patterson told me one time, he'd laugh, he'd go, Greg, you did all the work. I said, yeah, but he did like 5 different comebacks on me. But I would just stay on him, and it was great. It was the easiest money I ever made. And he never hurt me because I couldn't feel it, you know?
But did you and Piper work out anything beforehand?
No, he just came over to me. We weren't that close yet, you know?
Okay.
We were sort of close.
Okay.
But I mean, we came real close after this, and that's strange, right?
Right.
That's where we mutilate each other.
You know.
He came over, and I had no idea, but he gave me some secrets how to work it. And when he said, when I go outside, you wrap the thing and pull me like that, and just different gimmicks that you could do with it. Wrap the chain around the head.
Right. Because I don't know whose idea it was, but at the beginning of the match, and I was talking with Bart about this today, the two of you were standing and staring at each other and pulling with your necks. That is fantastic. Who came up with that? It's great.
We talked about that
great.
before. But then when he was in the ring, he was kind of talking to me. He says, because I'd never worked that kind of match.
Okay.
So then I got it. You know, we need to use the chain every time we could. And then I had a spot where I set up where I had him beat down, and I'd put the chain kind of like between my legs, and I'd walk off, and he went boom like that.
Hit them high notes,
Just-
Greg.
It was, yeah, you know, it was great. And
Great match.
but I remember rapping. He always called me a stiff sausage fingers son of a bitch. Stiff son of a bitch. And so I wrapped the chain around his head, and he's sitting down, and he's already gigged his ear, and he's bleeding all over the place, and I drop an elbow on his head, and the chain being so tight, almost, maybe it did knock him out.
Wow.
And he's saying, you motherfucker. He got out of there, and I blocked him, and I'm not going to stand there and go ahead, hit me. I'm blocking him. Well, that's way, it looks like a real fight anyway.
Right.
These guys ruin the match when they get up there and they don't even try to block a punch coming in. You gotta block it, right?
Yeah.
But I'm definitely blocking these. He's still got me on the back of my head and my ear. Like, what? He's friggin' killing me. So that is a real match, probably as real as you're gonna get.
Right. And you guys were all blading back in the day, right? Or was that true about Roddy's ear being really that sensitive that it would bust
Well,
open like that?
to work up to this dog collar match, I would be ramming his head in the ring post.
Right.
And he'd take his own bump, and he'd hit it so hard he'd knock his friggin' self out. And then he's cutting his ear. And he mangled his ear. But I got like everybody thought, even the other wrestlers thought I really did it because I was still. He took his own bump into there, right? I didn't run him in there.
Right.
So he was just one great seller and great guy to work with. And everybody said, how come you never wrestled each other up here in WWF? We were tired of that.
Yeah, really.
You can't.
Did Vince bring it to you? Like, I got a great idea.
No, he had a great idea. You go out in Roddy Piper's pit and shake hands.
Really?
That's right. That's right.
That's true.
And I agreed with him.
Wow.
I got one thing I'm enjoying about the interview. It seems like you have such respect for your coworkers, and you seem to have such a wonderful relationship with him. It's really good to hear.
Well, you got it because you're only as good as your opponent. You got to make your opponent look good, or you don't mean shit.
Right.
And that's the whole old school of working. And I was always, I'm not going to let some guy kill me off. I'm going to stay over. The only bad part in wrestling is you eventually get older and,
Right.
but I'll still take anybody on.
Wanted to ask you about the Intercontinental reign that you had. It was 285 days. It's the 5th longest reign in WWE history. It ended, to me, in a fitting conclusion where you destroyed the championship.
It was a great ending.
Whose idea was it to destroy the championship? Was that Vince, or was that...
It probably came from Vince.
Okay. Did
Jay
you agree with
was-
that storyline? Were you cool with destroying the belt? Or?
Well, I knew I was going to do the favor. It was coming up, and I liked that outcome of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and
I
your
was
feelings
happy
on
with it.
Tito as a person, as somebody you worked with?
Probably the best opponent, number one I ever had. There's some other number ones, but he's definitely a number one.
Do you ever cross paths with him nowadays? Because I think he's still out there doing his thing.
I just talked to him today on the phone.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah,
That's definitely
we'll
crossing
always
paths.
see great friends. My wife speaks Spanish, and they talk. They're good friends. I always put him on the phone with Julie.
Wow.
I wanted to ask you about your program with JYD at the first WrestleMania, and if I could mention the promos, if that's possible.
Sure.
Some of those promos today might be looked at like, oh dear Lord, but they were done a little bit differently back then. Were you okay with these promos? And
Well, I
tell
grew
us
up
about
in the
program with
50s and
JYD.
60s and watching Archie Bunker.
Joe, there you go.
So-
There's only one answer to that.
And they said
Hello.
Archie's the
said
best.
they said the N word. I didn't say the N word,
Right? No, of course not.
but
Of course not.
and I wasn't really implying it. I didn't because
Did
I've
JYD come up to you like, yo, bro?
I've never been prejudiced.
Right.
Never. One time there's a bunch of kids they were black kids and they were doing something and Coco was right there and I yelled at him and I said the N word, right? And I turned around and he goes, Greg, don't say that. I go, I'm sorry, man, but
Was the bird with him?
he says, they were what you're not. I says, you're a good black man.
Oh boy.
How was your feelings about being at the first WrestleMania? Did you know at the time, like, this is going to be like the Super Bowl of wrestling for the next,
I pretty much had the idea after I was doing a lot of media and they were bringing all these big stars. And I said, this is going to be a big thing. Because Starrcade 83 was closed circuited and that wasn't on pay-per-views. But that was the first pay-per-view. But you know what? I found out because George Scott was a booker then, and I talked to him a lot before he passed away. And he was my mentor in that, as far as, giving me a lot of breaks. He said WrestleMania, he said, and I'm going to say exactly what he said. He said he coined the phrase WrestleMania.
Wait a minute. So you just rolled right into this.
He sure did.
So Dr. D was in our studio
recently,
a couple of weeks ago.
back, yeah.
Dr. D claims to be the man who came up with the name WrestleMania. You had a relationship with Dr. D. Is this true or not?
Well, I never heard him say that. Me and Dr. D are friends, but he was there at the same time George Scott was. Well, George said it was up, but maybe he heard it from Dr. D. Who knows? I mean, people are going to steal.
Let them fight it out.
But
Let them figure it out.
I thought, because of Beatlemania and all this Hulkamania, then WrestleMania,
Right.
So, well, George told me, I believe George, but it could be both,
Do you have a favorite WrestleMania moment? Anything in particular that stands out for you that you recall most fondly?
Having a decent match with JYD because I never wrestled him before.
Right.
And he wasn't really my style.
A match you won, by the way, after they screwed you out of it afterwards. What is this? This is like a freaking never-ending Let's Celebrate Valentine.
I just wanted
BS.
to get through the match.
Yeah,
and I was happy enough because he's not a guy that goes 40 minutes.
Right.
And we really didn't have an angle except he was over and I had a belt.
Right.
And so it was good enough. It was good. And Tito ran in at the end of it.
Greg, what was a payday for the first WrestleMania?
Ooh.
Is that too much to ask?
What was the payday? Wow. For WrestleMania what?
Drum roll.
What was that?
It was somewhere between 20 grand and somewhere between 20 and 40.
Wow,
Man.
it's a great payday.
Wow, there's a big in between there.
Congratulations, well deserved.
It was, yeah.
Worth every penny.
I should have been 50, but
You know, and that was a title match. So I wanted to ask you on the subject of titles. What was your personal favorite title that you ever held? The one you think about the most? Like this belt's mine. I love this belt. I loved holding this title. Which one would it be for you?
well, I made a lot of money with a U.S. belt.
Right.
But I guess, and I had it 4 different times, so it's right up there. And Intercontinental, I mean, all the championships. So I guess I'll go with the IC belt
Really?
because
The
WrestleMania.
Intercontinental title, WWE all the way.
Makes me happy.
There we
Makes
go.
me happy.
Here's a question I'm sure you've been asked, but I'll ask it anyway. If you could do it all over again, would you change anything?
I go get a job somewhere.
What?
Lies.
Oh,
Lies.
I'm not
The hammer lying on Monte The Pharaoh.
Here.
No,
Excellent. Works
No.
for me.
no, I wouldn't. The only thing I wouldn't do is, I mean, everything business-wise, I was happy with it, but some of my investments weren't great. Don't ever invest in real estate in Florida. And, just think like, as far as the business goes, I had a good run. I had a good run after I left the mainstream and went independent in Japan and still made, the name, Greg the Hammer Valentine. I made it, but Vince helped me make it and all these other promoters. But I kept it and I'm still going. And I'm just happy to be healthy and happy to still be able to get in the ring,
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm happy, and I'm happy about living in Las Vegas.
What is your wrestling schedule like now? You're still active, so how often do you go out and perform?
Well, I got one Friday in North Bergen, and then I have one September Labor Day weekend in Colorado, in Vail, Colorado, of all places.
Oh my God, jeez.
Yeah,
Oh,
so
you know what that is?
and Jake's going to
It's in the
be
United States of America.
Jake's going to
You
be
nailed it.
there.
Hello?
You nailed it.
Yeah, Jake's going to be there too, but he doesn't
Jesus
wrestle.
sake.
Yeah.
But we're going to do something.
If you don't mind talking about this over dinner, we were speaking about the women's revolution right now in the WWE. What was the difference between women's wrestling back in the day when you were wrestling primarily and today? And what's your feelings about today's women wrestling?
Well, the girls nowadays are pretty hot, right?
That's fair.
Not to tell me.
Yeah,
right?
no, they certainly don't have to tell
It
Paulie
makes
Herbert over
it
here.
makes me nervous to watch them because they're that hot.
Oh, Lord. Oh, Lord.
And my wife comes out the other day and I'm watching WWE and I'm just flipping through the channels and
Slowly.
and
On pause.
the girl wrestling was on, but it was Ric Flair's daughter, right? So I watched that, and then she comes out. Oh, you're watching girl wrestling now. I thought she didn't. I thought she didn't like girl wrestling.
That's what I get yelled at for. This is hilarious.
Oh boy.
Oh, my
And
God.
I've watched some of it, and there's a lot of it on now. And those guys better watch out. They might lose their job
Wow.
Well, I know
because
Ellsworth will.
these girls are good athletes
Yeah.
and they're good to look at. But I'm still, it's hard for maybe Ric Flair's daughter because she's kind of got Flair's big nose.
Nice.
Oh, my God.
And
And
I told you, Big Bird.
and she is tall and she's a good champion, I think. Is she still champion?
no longer champion,
No
but
longer
she
champion. She's
definitely
great.
is a great
She's
wrestler.
great. Yeah.
Fantastic.
She has the it factor, too. She's
So though the it factor, exactly.
She does.
But that's from Rick.
Yep.
And
Yep.
so that the girl wrestling is, I wasn't aware of how much it came along because I quit watching wrestling. And when I first saw this wrestling, I made a comment that I shouldn't have. And I analyzed that comment, and even my wife got mad at me because she watches that show on MTV, the Bella thing.
Well, can I ask what was the comment? Would you share the comment?
Don't do that. He's gonna have to go sit in the doghouse.
I just wanted to know. I'm sorry.
Comment got you in trouble at home.
Just wanted to know what the comment was.
About what?
Whatever you said to your wife about the women's wrestling.
No, it wasn't what I said to her. It's what I said to somebody on some radio show.
Oh, okay.
Let's hear it. That's all we're about.
No, I don't want you.
Leave him alone. It's fine.
No, you don't need to hear it.
All right.
While we're on the subject,
I already apologized for that. I love women.
There you go.
And then I started watching more and says, maybe I'm missing something.
Right, there you go.
And you know what?
Damage
The
control.
guys better watch out. They might lose their job.
That's true. That's true. Hammer, I wanted to ask you.
It's called a transition. Not a transmission.
Not a transvestite, but a transmission.
Speaking of
Wait, hold on. He's got.
transmission and my Cadillac's going out. That's why I got confused.
It's okay. My engine in my car went out.
Oh.
My cat got hit by a car. You guys with your car troubles. I wanted to ask you, how do you feel about Moolah with what went down recently with Fabulous Moolah? Are you aware of what went down with Fabulous Moolah recently?
No.
Oh, okay. Well, they had named a Battle Royal after her at WrestleMania, and then it turned out that supposedly some people said that she had been. Mike, help me out here.
She was a madam in the wrestling industries, and she would train, take the wrestlers' money, and then actually sell them sexually to
bad stuff that was coming out. So Vince felt the pressure and canceled the event that was named after her. It was supposed to be a battle royal, the Fabulous Moolah, first ever. Was it a battle royal or something
It was
at
a
WrestleMania?
tournament. It was a tournament.
Oh, was that what it was?
Yeah.
Did they already have the tournament?
Yeah, they renamed
changed
it.
it to the
They
Mae
just
Young
changed the
tournament.
name. But I was curious, did you ever
I
come
saw
across
that.
Moolah?
I wondered why it was made.
Yeah, so they changed it over this controversy, and I was wondering, or the Pharaoh was wondering, because I would never wonder something like
Oh,
this.
yeah. The Pharaoh was not wondering this.
I always-
He wanted it.
I didn't hear that she was a madame or anything like that, but I heard, she had a lot of girls staying on the ranch there, and the guys would just joke about it. I didn't take it seriously. Frankly, I don't care.
There you go.
Wow.
Side out of mind.
All right.
I don't care, but I mean, people, it's all about rumors now and this Facebook and this.
Right.
Everybody's into everybody's shit. Yada, yada, yada. And that's why I don't do Facebook. And
We should just have more breakings of legs.
we need to get back to serious. And then the women are a strong force now, so you just got to deal with it.
How do you see the future of
The
wrestling?
Hammer Valentine being politically correct on Monte The Pharaoh. Great job, Hammer.
Excuse me while I throw up.
I'll be getting dinner tonight.
Hello.
Oh, no.
I had dinner already.
It was something I ate.
That's great. Greg, how do you see the future of wrestling going? If you could make a prediction, how do you see it going from this point on? Is it going to get better? Or are we going to have another fantastic Hulkamania time period? Will we ever see anything like the Attitude Era again? Or have we just hit the internet sterile age of plastic promos and plastic divas, and you know what I'm saying? Any hope for the future there?
Well, let's just turn our eyes on the XFL.
Oh my God!
Oh man!
Thanks, Greg. I'm gonna go throw myself in traffic now. Thanks a lot.
I'm feeling some.
Larry just went limp.
I'm feeling some
Oh my
Vince. I'm
God.
feeling some Vince hatred.
I
here.
know. What is with the XFL anyway?
Little
Put your money in
Vinny
something.
I got
more
$100 million,
sensible. Don't forget it.
and my name's Vince
Yeah,
McMahon,
Bart, go long.
and I'm not going to take
Yeah,
care
yeah,
of anybody. I'm just going to take this $100 million,
So
and I'm going to start an XFL, and I'm going to waste all my money again,
So, Greg, probably you've been asked this question a million times, but I'd like to hear.
rather than giving it to people that took him to the top in the first place.
So we talk about former wrestlers and medical insurance and helping out wrestlers that have given their lives up for these federations and promotions. Number one, what do you believe needs to happen to make that happen? And number two, why do the wrestlers not unionize and stop working as
Is that an
independent
impossible
contractors?
thing? A union?
No, it's impossible.
Okay.
Because
Hey,
here's the deal.
going from him.
Wrestlers are individualists. They'll never get together. It's been tried. My dad tried to do it. And that's why
Really?
way back in the late 60s, he tried to do it. And
Wow.
and I don't know if Vince, this is after he already left his New York thing, but it wasn't good. You know, he couldn't get booked for a while. He's trying to organize, right? But
Right.
then he went to Charlotte and everything was different. But Jesse Ventura tried that, and they got rid of him.
Well, let me ask you real quick. I want to ask you that question since you bring it up. Jesse Ventura claims that while he was trying to unionize our hero and one of your close friends, Hulk Hogan, went to Vince McMahon and
Supposedly.
ratted him out. Supposedly.
Supposedly.
Is this true?
Anything to that?
I've heard it, but I don't know if it's true.
Okay.
I heard that Hogan says, if you do that, I quit. And then I love Hogan, and I don't know if it's true or not, but he had his own deal with Vince. And this, if unionizing would screw up his deal and give more of the wealth out to other guys like me. And
So is
Yeah.
there some truth that
maybe he did do that. I don't know.
I've heard Kevin Nash talk about that at one point in the business there was a set what Kevin Nash called the $750,000 ceiling. And according to Kevin Nash, if your name wasn't Hulk Hogan, you were not getting more than that $750,000. Is there any legitimacy to that?
I don't think it's.
Because that would be like Nash to spell it
it's
out
more-
to the penny.
No, it's more like 500.
Okay, 500,000. Okay, all right.
Fair enough.
That
Just
was
curious.
the club, and then the other guys were below it.
Is Kevin Nash sort of like the Kurt Flood of pro wrestling, where he kind of like forced the pay to come up for the business as a whole?
Now he might have got 750, and that other guy.
Scott Hall. That other
I don't
guy.
know that for
I
sure.
know.
So,
But it did not go any further than those two guys.
so the Pharaoh asked you a question: would you change anything? So here's an example. You were one of the great workers of all time and one of the great characters of all time. When a guy like Kevin Nash is making that kind of money, and I don't know what you made, do you feel like, God, if I just would have wrestled at this era, I would have killed it?
No, different time periods bring different salaries.
Well, they did this NWO thing, which I talked about earlier, and it's just the nature of the beast. And I made good money. You know, I had a couple of 500,000 years, but they weren't guaranteed.
Right.
I did it off the house. These guys all of a sudden started getting guarantees from WCW, and then they sucked those guys away from Vince, and that's when Vince almost went broke. And Vince said, well, the guys were saying, the only way we're going to go back to WWF, you start giving out guarantees. So Vince I don't know what they were, 500, whatever. Getting 500 guaranteed from Vince
Right.
would be phenomenal because he never did that.
Yeah.
But then the merchandising, and so now it's way up there. I don't know what he's guaranteed these guys. But the merchandising, you'd make $1 million.
Senior and junior, you worked for both, correct?
Yeah.
What was the difference and weaknesses or strengths? What were your thoughts
How
about the show?
similar were they to each other as people?
Well, like father, like son, but no.
Okay.
The father, the old man, was a great guy, a humanitarian. He told me a story one time where he hates the fire guys. He would cry about it.
Senior.
So he had compassion.
okay.
Captain Lou Albano said, when Vince takes over the kid, you better watch out, because if you fall down and have a heart attack, he's going to step right over you and keep on going.
Lou Albano said this.
Yes.
Wow.
And we're all sitting around dinner drinking. He said it right in front of Vinny Jr. And I'm thinking, my vision is way ahead. I go, please, Vince Sr., don't pass away. But he did. But Vince stayed cool for a while.
Right.
But then he started distancing himself from the boys. I mean, I still was treated good, but, it was a different thing. And now he's the man. He's in power. He was a friggin' genius. He did all this, But I think he should take care of the guys that put him there.
Right.
And, especially, he should take care of all the Hall of Fame guys. Give us a bonus. I'm not crying. I don't care. You don't have to send me a dime.
I hear you.
I'm just saying what he should do.
I agree.
Speaking,
For guys that are more unfortunate. I'm still out here making money, so I don't care.
speaking of the Hall of Fame, can you give me 3 members that are not included that you would wish were in the Hall of Fame right now?
Well, Beefcake should be in the Hall
Yeah.
of Fame.
What's up with that? How about the British Bulldogs?
Maybe Honky Tonk Man should be in it.
Oh, my
But
God.
he messed it up. He was going to be in it.
Can
But
you
I-
tell us that? We don't know anything
What
about
did he do
that.
to mess it up?
Well,
Talk.
they don't tell you.
Probably.
They don't tell you 3-4 months out, or if they don't tell you, because they want to keep everything secret. And he had already booked himself all these places, and he just didn't want to do it. Plus, he got mad about it was in Phoenix, and he wanted an airplane flight. He wanted to be treated better, but in hindsight, I don't know if he looks back at it, he messed up, but I think he drew a lot of money here.
Mm-hmm.
I think, so you're asking me these names, I'm thinking he spent a lot of time in WWF, so Beefcake should be in there, Honky Tonk Man should be in there, and I can't think,
Ivan Koloff.
yes,
Ivan
thank you.
Koloff.
because
Wow.
these guys all,
Ridiculous.
you know, Vince has put guys in that, not taking anything from Rock and Roll Express, but these guys never worked up here,
Right.
and other guys, but
Understood.
maybe they deserve, you know, I like both of them, so maybe they deserve it. But I wouldn't. I think he's got to put Beefcake and Honky in. And Ivan Cole. I mean, I hope, but I mean,
There's a few others too.
I think he should put me back in with Beefcake. the
Sure,
Dream
why
Team.
not?
Why not?
not?
I shared with you again
Tracy, dude.
when I was at WrestleMania 2 in the Nassau Coliseum. Actually, closed circuit television. They closed out Chicago, and it was the Bulldogs against the Dream Team with luscious Johnny Valiant, who recently passed away, and a good friend of Evan Ginsberg.
Yep.
I got to tell you, as far as marking out for tag teams, Dream Team is one of the great tag teams of all
Thank
time.
you.
All time.
I thank you. I believe you really mean that. And
I do.
I know that I was proud of what we did, and Brutus is proud of that. We really got over here in the Northeast, especially in Canada, and wrestling the Bulldogs. They helped. You know, it was just a good timing is everything really in professional wrestling.
Eric Bischoff was once asked after the Monday Night Wars were all over with and he had lost. He was asked if there was one guy you could have had during the wars that you feel would have turned the tide, who would it have been? And I think Mike knows the answer. He turned and he said, "That's easy, Vince McMahon." Now, my question to you is that when Vince McMahon became Mr. McMahon and started wrestling, getting physical, what was that like for you to see this? This guy was your boss, and then all of a sudden he's all jacked up. He's in the ring. He's taking bumps. You must have
I'm
like,
watching that and I'm gone, but I'm thinking, God, I wish
you
I
could
was-
belt him one.
I was wrestling him.
Oh, there you go. You're from the damn it. Stone Cold has all the fun.
Well, speaking about, let me ask you this. Obviously, you're a very large man. Do you feel pressure to take anabolic steroids during your career to keep up with everybody, or are you purely natural? Because again, what I've read is how superhuman strength you had in articles many times. So.
Were you ever tempted by any of that stuff?
Well,
'Cause
there
we
was
know it was around
there
the
was a
scene.
doctor around there, Zahorian,
You know
1979,
that guy.
and he kept pushing this stuff on me, and so I tried a little bit of it, and it made me irritable, and it made my face chubby, and I go, I don't need this shit. I got natural genes from my father,
Right.
Sure.
so I stayed away from it. Thank
Wow.
God.
Good.
I did
Yes, thank God.
a little here and there, and I never liked the way it made me. It didn't improve me. So
I have to ask you this before we get off the air. The pro wrestling magazines. Now, back in the day when Mike and I first met in junior high school, we had no access to you when you weren't on WWF programming because cable TV wasn't out yet.
right.
So we used to go to the stationery store and buy Pro Wrestling Illustrated
Right.
or Inside Wrestling or
Right.
The Wrestler, Bill Apter's mags.
Right.
Were you aware at the time, by the way, you were most hated 1975, 1979, and 1983.
Yes,
yeah,
yes,
baby,
yeah,
most
baby.
hated.
Most hated.
Yeah. Were you aware, and by the way, we always loved it every time you won. I was like,
absolutely.
yeah, Valentine wins again. But what I thought was great was, were you aware that the magazines at the time were basically the bridge to thousands of fans, because this is before internet. This is before cable. I mean, what was your take on the wrestling magazines? Were you receptive to them when they came to you? There's a great magazine cover with you and Ric Flair covered in blood.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if you remember that one, but wow.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Well, that was all great, and I was aware of what was going on, and they always sent me a copy, and they, Apter and George Napoleano, they took care of me. I can't think of the guy that ran the company up there, but they all took.
Stanley Weston?
Yes, they gave me a lot of cover shots, and they really took good care of me.
Wow.
Now, when Vince came out with his own magazine to go against him,
Sure.
and he put him out of business pretty much. Vince never, I think he gave me one cover shot.
Wow. You know, Greg, you might not notice this, but our own Pharaoh had his magazine back in the junior high days.
I did. I had
And
my
it
own
used to sell.
newsletter, and I did. Yeah, I even got an ad in the Rings Wrestling magazine. I did. I did. And Tom Burke, New England Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame journalist, gave me a thumbs up.
You did?
1980, and I had him on the cover.
Nice.
1982.
Until he met me, and I told him I got a better idea. Make the magazine, get the money, and don't send it out.
My bad influence.
Great.
He was like, keep the money, we'll buy wrestling magazines. So I had this stack of magazines, and
So,
everybody
Greg-
wanted to know what a mag was.
Greg, we want to thank you for joining us. We know you had a long day.
Very good.
You want to give us a send out about 350 days and tell people what they'll be seeing this Thursday. Actually, tomorrow. And where they can see you tomorrow.
Well, I'm going to be here in New York at one of these theaters downtown Manhattan, and I'll be there kissing babies and
Nice.
taking pictures, helping
Putting
old
figure
ladies,
blocks on them.
helping old ladies to their seats.
Nice.
Checking out the divas.
Hitting people with
Nah.
foreign objects.
And it'll be great to meet all the fans in New York because they're the best. And it's going to be all over 400 different theaters, all over the country. And all I've done is talk about it for the last 3 weeks on all kinds of different radio stations, but it's really worth it. It's a great movie. It's about what we're talking about. And they're going to be able to see, rather than just listen to me, but you'll be able to see Tito and Paul Orndorff and Ted DiBiase and Bret the Hitman Hart, Superstar Billy Graham, all those stars in the era. And we actually were on the road 350 days, or at least it felt like it.
Yeah.
And so it's a good round figure. And it's a tremendous movie. It's all true. So if you like true stuff that's going to blow your mind behind the scenes, you can't miss it.
Well, you heard that straight from the hammer. And this is another episode of Monte The Pharaoh. We want to thank Hall of Famer, wrestling
you,
great,
guys.
Greg the Hammer Valentine, for joining us.
Yes,
Once
sir.
again,
Thank you.
I'm going to let the Pharaoh give us a send out because, as many people know, and Greg, you will know that you are
Guys are
the Pharaoh's
embarrassing me.
all-time favorite wrestler.
Yep.
Yeah,
Oh,
he is.
Thank
Yep.
you.
I would tell you you're on my list, but Don Morocco is my favorite.
What's your
wrestler.
Hey, hold on.
That's okay. I liked it when Morocco came to the ring and they'd shoot the camera right up at him and he'd go like this.
Yeah, oh
with his hand.
yeah, man.
He'd
What
blow,
about the time he ate a sandwich?
he'd blow a booger out of his nose right on the camera. I'd go, that's fucking awesome.
Before
guy ate a
you let
sandwich
Jimmy say something, I wanted to say
Go
something.
ahead.
You talk about mic skills all the time. You know, wrestlers have mic skills.
Yeah.
He's got the best mic skills. He just knows how to move that mic with it, just with his arm, man. He just goes, he pulls it right in like it's like this. It's like,
He's a,
hey, baby,
he's,
hey.
he's a professional.
He
Oh,
did
baby.
11 interviews today. This is the
It's
12th
awesome.
microphone. Awesome.
I'm finally learning.
He was hugging it like Alexa Bliss.
Oh, would you again with Alexa Bliss?
Anyway,
Yeah.
once again, it was our honor to have you on our show.
You
and
guys are
thank
great.
you
You
so
make me-
much.
You make me feel good. You make me feel comfortable.
Thank you
And
for my childhood,
I
Greg.
could-
And thank you for always being an influence to me. And just thank you for being my favorite wrestler.
All right, that's
And
great.
I feel kind of mushy now. He's the man. Jim, don't cry. Actually, you can cry for me. Go ahead.
That's awesome, though. You know what? I really
Yeah,
feel for that.
Let me put it this
We're
way.
all the same age.
Look,
So we
look.
all have the same. We're all the same age.
Let me
So
put
we
it.
all have the same experience.
I gotta say this.
And I'm not a big wrestling
I have-
fan, but
I
I
have
did
to-
have that experience.
I have to say this. I can now die in professional
Yeah,
wrestling
Wow.
peace.
Holy
In
cow.
professional wrestling peace, I can.
That's awesome.
Greg,
I'll
thank you
share.
so much,
I'll
man.
share.
Thank you.
I'll share one thing before we get off there.
What do you
I'm
got?
sitting at work,
Oh no.
and the phone
You're not
rings,
gonna do this.
It's
are
the
you?
Pharaoh.
He's gonna do this.
and he's like,
You
"Dude,
prick.
we're about
Go
to
on.
interview the great Greg the Hammer
I lost
Valentine."
it. I lost it.
I can't stop shitting,
I,
and I'm like, "Dude, relax."
my ass was
He's like,
running
"You
faster than my
don't
feet. I
understand.
couldn't
This
handle it.
guy is an icon," and I said, "I
Losing
understand."
it.
You use all the toilet paper in there.
That's what I did. And he needed it. And he needed it. Oh,
And I
ain't
needed it.
In the immortal words of Bugs Bunny, ain't I a stinker? Anyway.
All right, well, so don't forget, 350 days tomorrow, 400 theaters worldwide or USA-wide, and Greg the Hammer Valentine will be in Manhattan. And
The Hammer.
you can catch Monte The Pharaoh at Village Connection Radio at Rockstar Studios every Thursday from 8:05. Get it? Georgia Championship Wrestling,
Yes.
6:05, 8:05
Yeah.
to 9 o'clock, where we cover pro wrestling. This is Long Island's #1 broadcast of pro wrestling, where we only
Yeah,
get
baby.
the real wrestlers,
Yeah,
the real
baby.
pros. Greg the Hammer.
Yeah, baby.